What's up guys, it's Canadian, and today we are going to be talking about the most common Zarya mistakes. So quick introduction, I am Canadian, I'm a Grandmaster Zarya main on multiple accounts and multiple seasons. I make a lot of Zarya guides and do a lot of Zarya VOD reviews. You can check all that stuff out on my Twitch and YouTube, links in the description. Anyway, let's get into it. While playing Zarya myself and reviewing Zarya footage, I have made and seen a lot of Zarya mistakes. Today I'm going to discuss what the most common Zarya mistakes are in my experience. Quick note here, a lot of the examples I use in this video involve Reinhardts. If there's no Reinhardt in your game, that's okay, just take the lesson, take the knowledge in these examples and apply them to your matches. Mistake number 1, using barriers when there is no incoming damage or without assessing the situation. This usually happens when the Zarya player is trying to farm energy, so they use the barrier, they use the cooldown to try and gain energy, but then no energy is gained. This happens most often near corners. A Zarya player will turn the corner and they instantly personal shield without first assessing the situation and seeing if there is any incoming damage. This puts the barrier on its 10-second cooldown and puts the Zarya player at a disadvantage in the upcoming fight. Now, you might not be punished for it, you might not be killed, etc., but it is still a bad barrier and you want to get the most value out of your barriers as possible. Let's look at an in-game example. In this screenshot, you can see that the vast majority of the enemy team is dead and that Zarya's projected barrier is about to come off cooldown. The only member of the enemy team alive is Mercy, and this footage is from the old Mercy res where she could res the whole team. As I play the clip, you will see that Zarya uses her projected barrier for essentially no reason because the fight is won. The Zarya player should have expected the resurrect and saved her barrier accordingly. You see the epitome of her mistake because the resurrected enemy of Reinhardt instantly pins an allied healer. That's the danger of using barriers when there is no incoming damage. You won't have it to save a teammate. So how do you remedy this mistake? The first thing you want to do is use all the visual and audio cues in the game to provide you with information onto whether or not your shield is going to give you energy, right? If you don't see a Pharaoh rocket or if you don't see soldiers shooting, etc., don't use the barrier. But if you see, Helix rockets flying your way, Junkrat bombs coming near you, then yeah, shield yourself, shield an ally in a poke phase, get that energy going into the next fight. Or save your teammates. Be a little more patient before you use those barriers. Let's look at some examples of good barrier usage. This is a classic example. When you see Reinhardt's Fire Strike animation, use a barrier and get some free energy. Mistake number 2, using your barriers to farm energy when you are already high energy. In my opinion, in my experience, it is better to just be patient, let your energy decay if you have to, and maybe someone else around you, a teammate, will need that barrier and you'll just get your energy anyway. Read the situation and be patient. You don't need to be full charge all the time. And this isn't just with projected barrier, this is with personal shield too, right? Let's look at an in-game example. In this example, Zarya is at 60 energy and is about to have personal shield back off cooldown. The ideal play, in my opinion, is to wait for your personal shield to come back, use it, get 40 energy from it, and then you'll have your projected barrier in case you need to save someone, especially on defense, when you are more likely to get pushed in versus on attack. What happens instead is the Zarya player uses their projected barrier for energy when their personal shield has 1 second left and then uses the personal shield for more energy, essentially using 2 barriers to do the job of 1 barrier. The player used 2 barriers to get 40 energy when they should have just used 1. So how do you remedy this mistake? It comes down to reading the flow of the matches. If you know the 2 teams are in a poke phase, then you can use your barriers safely and not be punished for it. Perfect. But if you know a fight is likely to break out, that's when you need to be patient with your barriers and not use them, especially if you are already high energy, because chances are there will be an opportunity to use that barrier to save a teammate, assist an ally, etc. that could change the course of a fight and maybe even the game. Be patient with your barriers. It's okay to decay energy, guys. The barrier, you can go from 20 to 100 energy instantly because 2 barriers gives max 80 energy. So don't be afraid to let your energy decay and just do your best to get value out of those barriers and use them in the right situations. Some signals that a fight is going to break out are when the 2 teams are close to each other or when you know what ultimates the enemy team has. Those are some of the biggest ones, so just keep those in mind in your games. Mistake number 3, using your projected shield to farm energy when your personal shield is available. So again, I touched on this topic in my playstyle guide, but essentially what happens is there will be a poke phase happening, and the Zarya player will use the projected barrier first to farm energy instead of the personal shield. This is where you should really be using the personal shield first to farm that energy instead of the projected barrier. The reason why is because when you use your personal shield and it goes on cooldown, you as the Zarya player can play safer knowing that shield is on cooldown, right? It only affects you. When you use the projected barrier to farm energy, you now cannot use it on any of your 5 teammates. So if something happens to any one of them, you don't have the protection there to save them. Let's look at an in-game example. In this screenshot, you can see that the personal shield is going to be available in 3 seconds, which is equivalent to decaying 6 energy. The Zarya player is impatient, uses the projected barrier first for energy, and then the personal shield, and then is instantly punished. Watch. The Zarya player should have waited for personal shield to come up, use it to get the energy they needed. They would have reached max charge, then they could have saved projected barrier for a teammate like their Reinhardt that clearly needed it. So how do you fix mistake number 3? If you have the choice between personal and projected barrier to farm energy, you should start with the personal shield, and if there is still time in the poke phase to farm more energy, then use the projected barrier, because the projected barrier is on a shorter cooldown. Quick example here, the Zarya player uses personal shield first to farm the energy and still has projected barrier available for the incoming fight since the teams are so close together. Mistake number 4, using barriers specifically for energy when the poke phase is over. The poke phase is over when 2 teams are extremely close together. You can kind of expect a fight's going to happen, or when there is a time constraint that's going to force the 2 teams to fight. Let's look at 2 quick examples. So we saw this example already, but we can use it again to explain this situation. As you can see, the 2 teams are very close together and the Zarya player uses both of their shields and then is instantly punished because they weren't expecting the fight to happen. When teams are this close together, kind of get ready for that fight and use your barriers accordingly. This next example involves overtime. The Zarya player should be saving their barriers for the impending fight, but what happens is the Zarya player uses both barriers before the fight even happens, trying to farm energy, and then doesn't have them for the upcoming fight. So again, to remedy this mistake, just work on your game sense, work on knowing when a fight is or isn't going to break out. Some signs a fight is going to break out are the enemy team is grouped up, certain heroes have ultimates, all those sorts of things are big signs a fight's going to break out, so then just play accordingly, hold that barrier to use in that fight instead of before. Mistake number 5, reloading in the middle of a fight. The general guideline is if there are enemies around, use your ammo and shoot at them. Put pressure on them with your beam, with your grenades. Especially if you do not have your ultimate. Every bit of ammo is a chance for you to deal damage and get closer and closer to earning that Graviton. Every time you reload, you lose a chance to earn ultimate charge. And those little bits of ammo can add up into a Graviton that much sooner to change the course of your match. Let's look at 2 quick examples. In this first example, the Zarya player gets stuck reloading right when the enemy Mercy is right in front of them. They had 49 ammo, and instead of shooting Mercy, they're stuck in this reload animation. In this next example, the Zarya player has a decent amount of charge and a decent amount of ammo, and they should have kept shooting the Rein shield in an attempt to break it instead of reloading. Now, I want to be clear that there are still good times to reload. You don't need to be using 100% of your ammo 100% of the time. There are still good times to reload, and I'm going to talk about when those are. When no one's around, it's a good time to reload. When you break line of sight with your enemies, it's a good time to reload. When characters are invulnerable, like Reaper going into Wraith form, take that opportunity to reload. So guys, do your best to stop reloading in the middle of the fight. Use as much ammo as you can to get as much ult charge as you can so you can use that Graviton that much sooner. Quick example here, the Zarya player is looking for someone in the alley, realizes they're not there, then they reload before re-entering the fight. Mistake number 6, overextending with personal shield. So part of Zarya's play is using your personal shield to be aggressive, then falling back when the shield has expired. They use the personal shield, they feel strong, they get energy, and then they keep pushing forward with that energy trying to secure a kill. But what they forget is by getting energy, your shield took damage, and when your shield takes damage, it breaks, leaving you, the Zarya player, vulnerable with no more protection because you obviously just used your shield. In this example, you're going to see the Zarya player use personal shield, then keep pushing forward and get killed. The blue team breaks the Reinhardt shield, so there's no reason for the Zarya player to push forward. Just shoot the Graviton and then shoot into it from relative safety since you don't have personal shield. The way to correct this mistake is to use the visual and audio indicators to know when your shield is gone. If you don't see the aura around the corner of your screen, the shield's gone. If your shield goes on cooldown, that means it has expired. If you get 40 energy, that means your shield is broken. The duration of the shield is only 2 seconds. Use that knowledge to your advantage to know when you can and can't play aggressive. Mistake number 7, not having allied HP bars enabled when playing Zarya. Allied HP bars are very important to playing Zarya. They help you determine who needs the shield most in any given situation. Let's look at a quick example. Let's say as Zarya, you just died and are walking back from spawn. As you turn the corner and see your teammates, who do you shield if you don't have allied HP bars on? You don't know your ally's health. I don't know the Pharah's health, and I don't know the soldier's health. So I make an educated guess because I just saw soldier hurt himself and I shield soldier. But when I turn on allied HP bars, I see clearly that Pharah is much weaker than soldier and I should have shielded her. The way to remedy this? Turn on allied HP bars. I recommend it for all heroes, but definitely for Zarya. Mistake number 8, using Graviton without considering the enemy Genji, the enemy Diva, or the enemy Mercy. So I talked a lot about this in my Graviton guide, which I will leave in the comments. The mistake that I see Zarya players make is when they are up against a Diva, a Genji, or a Mercy, they will use Graviton without considering Genji's Reflect, without considering Diva's Defense Matrix, and without considering Mercy's Valkyrie. In this quick example, you will see the Zarya player use Graviton in front of the enemy Genji without knowing if his Reflect is up or not. If you listen closely, you can hear the reflect sound right as the Graviton hits Genji's body.
I'm ready. Here, go.
How do you fix this mistake? What you want to do as Zarya is make sure Genji is either not there or his reflect is on cooldown. You want to make sure either Diva is not there or her defense matrix is on cooldown. And with Mercy, you basically want to always catch her in Graviton considering her current power level. She is so strong right now, the ability to just res anyone you kill is insane, so trying to catch her in Graviton is huge. Make sure you either know where she is so when she flies in you can kill her, or catch her in the Graviton initially. Mistake number 9, not saving your projected barrier for your wombo combo ally. So a wombo combo is when Zarya players combine Graviton with another allied ultimate for tons of damage. Let's use Pharah as an example. If Zarya and Pharah are going to wombo combo, then the Zarya player needs to save the projected barrier for that Pharah. A lot of the times I will see games where the Zarya player in voice chat is like, alright Pharah, let's get ready to combo. And then out of nowhere they will just bubble their Reinhardt for no reason. Yes, if you are bubbling someone because they needed to be saved, that is different, that is an exclusion to this, that's fine. But a lot of the times I see Zarya players just bubble Rein for energy, or bubble Rein and get nothing out of it. And then they try to do a combo and Pharah dies instantly because there's just no protection. Let's look at an in-game example with voice comms. Zarya's team is trying to set up a Zarya-Pharah wombo combo, but the Zarya player uses their barrier on Reinhardt while communicating in voice comms, hey, are you ready, let's combo. So I don't understand the usage of the projected barrier there when they should have been saving it for their teammate.
You ready, Clock? Right, I'm doing it now.
My barrier. I'm done.
I got far right, please.
Mercy's in the bookstore.
You can see in the kill feed that the allied Pharah is killed, and maybe that bubble would have saved her. So how do you fix this mistake? If you are planning a wombo combo, guys, be mindful, be patient, save that barrier for your teammate so you can get that sweet play of the game stolen by your allied Pharah. Here's a quick example of saving your barrier for your allied Pharah to get a sweet quadruple kill. The barrier on Pharah stops her from getting stunned by McCree, slept by Ana, or killed by anyone else. Mistake number 10. Using grenades versus high health targets in close quarters. So Zarya is a tank melter at decent charge. Her beam does tons and tons of damage to these high HP, big hitbox targets. The mistake that I see some Zarya players make is they'll be fighting like an Orisa or a Reinhardt, and they'll be using grenades at point blank range when they could be using beam, getting more value out of that ammo, getting more ult charge by doing more damage. Now, the only exception to this is versus a Roadhog who still has his hook available. By using grenade, at his feet, you can knock him around, make him miss the hook. But once that hook is down, I expect you guys to use your beam versus Roadhog. He's immobile, giant hitbox, giant HP pool. There's really no reason to use grenade versus him unless he has his hook. In this example, I am fighting two Orisas, one with just grenade and one with just beam. Using only grenades, it takes me 10 grenades to kill the first Orisa, which means I had to reload twice. Versus the second Orisa, I only had to reload once, and I probably could have finished them with one magazine and a melee. So that's the power of using beam against these high HP targets, guys. Use your beam, not your grenades. Mistake number 11, not using personal shield to body block for your team. A lot of Zarya players forget that while personal shield does encase the Zarya player, it can still be used to protect your teammates if you position yourself in between the enemy and your ally. The mistake that I see is they'll use a projected barrier on someone near them. The projected barrier saves that person, but then they don't move in to try and further protect them with a personal shield. So it's an easy fix, guys. Just make sure you remember that you can use your personal shield to protect your allies. Here's a quick example of what good body blocking looks like. The Zarya player is expecting the pin, steps in front of her Reinhardt, absorbs it with her personal shield, and has the projected barrier for the following fight. Mistake number 12. Focusing Zarya's attention on mobile heroes like Genji and Tracer when there are immobile targets around. I see a lot of Zaryas trying their absolute best to kill that flanking Genji, kill that flanking Tracer, kill that Pharah in the sky, and their heart is in the right place. But they are trying to do this when there's an enemy Reinhardt near them, an enemy Winston, enemy Roadhog, Diva, etc. Zarya would be serving her team better by DPSing these other tank heroes instead of doing lackluster to almost no damage to Genji, Tracer, Pharah, etc. Zarya it's so hard to track these heroes because they're just so fast or high in the sky that it's almost pointless to focus on them if there are other easier targets to shoot around. When you focus on these mobile heroes, you are missing out on ult charge, you are missing out on DPS. So it's much better to focus those tanks instead of these nimble heroes. Now, if you are a tracking god, you are excluded from this mistake because chances are you're landing all your beam onto these guys. So if you're a tracking god, kudos to you, but for myself and the average Zarya player, it's very hard to focus on these types of heroes. So again, focus on the big immobile characters and leave the mobile heroes to your teammates. In this example, you'll see me and my mediocre aim fight a Genji and then an Orisa. It takes a lot longer to fight the Genji versus the Orisa. It's a lot harder to track him. He's jumping, he's dashing, and all that stuff. So for the average Zarya player, fighting Genji is quite difficult. However, fighting these large immobile heroes like Orisa and Roadhog and Reinhardt is a lot easier. They're not flying all over the place, they're not high in the sky, it's just a 1v1 ground battle. And if you play it smart, you'll come out on top. So serve your team better, guys. Fight those tanks instead of those hard-to-hit characters. Mistake number 13, not using grenades enough. A lot of Zarya players like Zarya's beam because it's technically a hit scan weapon, which is amazing, but they underutilize Zarya's grenade. The grenade does AoE damage, which is great, but the big thing that makes the grenade even more special is that it displaces your opponents and does burst damage. Let's talk about Soldier versus Zarya in a 1v1. Grenades excel here because by hitting the soldier with them, you're knocking him around, making him miss his shots, knocking him away from his biotic field, and doing burst damage to him so you can finish him off. When you knock him in the air with a grenade, you can then follow up with a beam for even more damage. But the mistake that I see are Zarya players just trying to use only beam to kill, Soldier, kill McCree, and they're not utilizing the power of the grenade. So the way you fix this, guys, is work grenades into your attack flow and practice some beam grenade discipline. Here are a few brief examples utilizing Zarya's grenade. First is me using the grenade to secure this low health Zarya kill. The second is using the displacement to knock Soldier away from his biotic field, knocking him up into the air, making him much easier to track. And finally, I'm using the grenade to displace the Soldier as he enters the Mega Health Pack in Temple of Anubis and knocks him away from the door into the corner, enabling my team to kill him and give us a numbers advantage. Alright guys, I think that wraps up the mistakes video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think there is something I missed. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you liked this and found it helpful, please give it a like and share it with your friends. If you want to see more of my content on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and be sure to follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Discord. Thank you guys so much for watching again. I hope it was helpful and have a good one. Thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. Check out these two other videos on the left hand side and be sure to subscribe by clicking that button on the right. If you like all of this stuff, you can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Discord, and of course YouTube. All the links will be in the description below. Again, thanks so much for watching guys and have a good one.